Good evening. It is Monday, September 30th, 2013. This is your Island Blader speaking. Here's what's happening. I just need a quick moment. Excuse me, just one quick moment for a second. Okay, what you heard in the background was just absolute frustration, let out at the fact that, my football team got trashed yesterday. 38-13 in Music City. Yes, those Tennessee Titans who, yeah, the game might as well have been over from the opening kickoff because it was disgraceful from beginning to end. Okay. The main culprit of this loss yesterday was obviously our quarterback, Mr. Eugene Cyril Smith, who turned the ball over 4 times, all led to touchdowns. Yes. Yes, indeed. 28 points. 28 of those 38 points. You know? I don't know. I mean, it was, like I said, his very first throw of the game, the second play of the game, he gets intercepted by, what's his face, Werner. And on that same ensuing play, Stephen Hill goes down and gets hurt because Michael Griffin took it upon himself, with his helmet, to hit Stephen Hill because the ball was underthrown intended for Hill. It was intercepted, but by the time Werner got it, Griffin, bang, into Stephen Hill. Oh, and of course, naturally, because it's the Jets, no flag. And I can get into also flags, speaking of which, because how many times this time were the undisciplined Jets penalized yesterday? 10. 10 penalties yesterday. And a few of them came negating big plays. Like a pass there was one late in the first quarter, where Geno completes a pass to Kellen Winslow down and gets down to the Titan 10-yard line. Oh, penalty flag. Willie Colon gets blown for illegal hands to the face. Took away a big play. And I don't know how many times. This is on. And this past week, what was it? Rex was, every time there's a penalty in practice, the whole team, including management and even the stupid owner, were doing push-ups. I mean, I don't know what it is. Everyone except the penalty was on, right? Anyway, whatever. The game was a disaster, and and I really, before yesterday, I mean, I really had faith that the Jets would win this game. I said the main thing they had to do was shut down Chris Johnson and they'd be all right. Well, while they did shut down Chris Johnson, he had maybe a yard and a half per carry yesterday. I mean, he was nowhere to be found. It got to the point where he got replaced. Jackie Battle, who, in maybe, I don't know, about, 3-4 carries or something, had more yards than Chris Johnson. I mean, really? Anyway. But all else, you got beat up by Nate Washington. You got beat up by Justin Hunter, who made a fantastic, I had to say, it was a fantastic catch just before halftime. I mean, the Jets were down 24-6 at halftime. And it was a disaster. The only Tennessee touchdown that was worth it was, late in the fourth quarter. And while you're at it, I mean, the Jets, like I said, the front line looked great, but they also gave Tennessee a major injury as their quarterback, Jake Locker, there got knocked out of the game. But by the time they knocked Locker out of the game was already over. And, it was Mo Wilkerson, with his head drilled Locker. I think he drilled him in the chest. As he stumbled, Quentin Coples actually was, unfortunately, right there, knocked into him. And Jake Locker was flat on his back. And turns out it's a hip injury that could really cost him big time. We're talking, I'm hearing about 4 to 8 weeks for Jake Locker, and it's a shame for a Titan team. They're now 3-1, and they've played really excellent football up to this point. If they didn't blow a lead against Houston, they could be 4-0 right now. And Houston knows all about coming back and blowing leads, but hey, they blew a 20-3 halftime lead yesterday against Seattle. Anyway, whatever. Another thing about the Jet defense, much as the run game has been stout and everything else. How about forcing a turnover? Now, I know Tennessee has not turned over the ball at all this year through 4 games. And despite how stout the run defense has been, while Geno Smith has turned the ball over 12 times, the defense, good as it is, they've only forced 2 turnovers the whole year. And both of them, I believe, were in the Tampa Bay game. And it's a disgrace. We're 2-2. I really thought this game would be a win. God knows I was wrong. But, Jake Locker looked, like Joe Montana out there yesterday. Now, the other thing you can't fault the defense for was because of Eugene Cyril Smith's mistakes, the defense was left to defend very short field. How many times? I could get on Geno for a lot of things. Really. The interception he threw his first throw of the game, bad play. Werner intercepted another one. It was in the second quarter. That was another one. There was the other. This was the killer. They're down 17-6 late in the first half. Also, he's scrambling. It's a 3rd and 4. No one's open. Geno's scrambling, doing the right thing. You lose it, and he's running up the middle. But then, he's pretty much on looking at it on TV. Clearly has the first down. But then he decides to go left, vulnerable position, swatted. Ball gets swatted away. Tennessee picks it up, and it was just unbelievable. And I'm sitting there, and I'm saying a lot of not so nice things out of this mouth. I'm very sorry. And I just lost it yesterday at this. It was unbelievable. And everybody's saying, sit Geno down. Let Matt Sims play. The game's out of reach anyway. Which, in a way, I could agree. Maybe Matt Sims has not played with a first string offense. He hasn't. Look at Geno. If Geno's the guy, but come on. When yesterday was enough. And and also with the last turnover of them all, okay? And this led directly to a Titan touchdown because it was a defensive touchdown. Geno Smith's first of all, before I get to that, he almost had a safety. He's on his own 15-yard line. Somehow he backs so far out, he almost gets knocked to the ground for a safety. Luckily, his feet were not in the end zone. But then when the game's pretty much over, it's 31-6. No. Sorry. Still 24. It's 24-6 still at this point. And the guy, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Vlad Dukas, and Vlad Dukas was another disaster yesterday. Geno's going, and then all of a sudden he sees the defensive lineman coming right at him, and all of a sudden he decides to pull some sort of Walt Frazier move, putting it behind his back. Ends up being the guy drills him, bounces right off his butt. So if you want to think Geno Smith just created another butt fumble, well, you might have a point. The guy picked it up, Tennessee touchdown, and that really just said, shut the lights. So, he was a train wreck yesterday. But when was enough enough? When do you sit him down and say, you know what, Geno, you need to learn a little lesson here, okay? You were terrible, yeah. You were terrible. Your mistakes were so asinine, it was ridiculous. And you gotta let him learn. He's a rookie. And I know rookies go through growing pains. But after the insolence, it's like, maybe Matt Sims should get a quarter. The game's over. But it's like you gotta learn your lesson. You stunk. You know what? Maybe you should sit. Look with Dean Milliner, the cornerback there. The Revis replacement. Knows a rookie. When he wasn't performing, a few weeks ago, Rex sat him down. Now, I know cornerback is different from quarterback. But, you don't make those kind of mistakes. Okay? You're leaving your hand wide open, swatted away like that, and you clearly had the first down. And, it's just like you sit, you learn your lesson, you watch. Okay? That's your growing pains. Okay? You're not affected, you sit. And of course, instead they let him, ride the pine, let him sweat it out, blah, blah, blah. You can make a case for Sims going in there, Sims not. You can make a case. It didn't matter. Okay. It was a collective stinker yesterday with the exception of the run defense. And as for Jake Locker getting hurt, Mo Wilkerson is probably going to get fined for that because maybe that should have been blown as a late hit. But what about Michael Griffin drilling Stephen Hill? And speaking of the offense, like I said, Vlad Dukas was a disaster yesterday. How many penalties did he get called for? And you think he'd learn his lesson after last week? He is a disaster. There is nobody to replace that guy. Okay, one good game. After that, flag, false start, whatever. Okay? And that's not another troubles. Santonio Holmes, walked off gingerly on his hamstring yesterday. Hill, of course, with his head injury. Who knows what's going to happen? He's going through the NFL protocol in handling head injuries. You know, my man Jeremy Curley yesterday also. I mean, Geno did make some plays yesterday. He did. Like I said, he had that nice, play to Cumberland in garbage time that led to the only touchdown for the Jets. There was a play there. Jeremy Curley's wide open on one play there. Hits him right in the hands, but unfortunately, since Jeremy Curley is all the more 5'7", he's reaching up. He couldn't hold the ball down, and there was nobody around him either. Now, he would have either had a touchdown or at least set up a 1st and goal, within the 10-yard line on Tennessee. That didn't happen. So, it was a disaster. I mean, collectively. And the secondary, I mean, like I said, the specialty with this defense, obviously, is now stopping the run. But this secondary is shaky. Oh, and they have the big test next week, too, when they go to Atlanta. Julio Jones and Roddy White. Great. Great! Matt Ryan. Great. It's on my fantasy team, too, by the way. But, I mean, what? I mean, Atlanta's got their own problems, but it don't mean that just because they're 1-3 doesn't mean a thing. Okay? I mean, still, they're going to come out mad. They're going to abuse Darren Walls, because let me face this. Darren Walls got abused yesterday. He was though responsible for Justin Hunter making that ridiculous catch with 2 seconds to go in the first half, making it 24-6. I mean, he just went up and got it. And Darren Walls was just beaten. And, they're going to exploit that. They're going to exploit an inexperienced cornerback. And that's what they did. Okay? So, I mean, it was a disaster. And, of course, and now this. Okay? With the quarterback situation. Again, I date it back to last year. I do. Okay? Now, I know every team does it, but, I guess as a Jet fan, you see it heavily more than ever. Okay? Like I said, all they had to do was just leave Sanchez alone after 2011. No, let's make noise and get Tebow. Ever since that stupid move happened. Or every day there's a quarterback debate. Okay? And this is crazy because Tebow's not here anymore. But there still is a quarterback debate. But also now because they drafted Geno Smith. And it says a lot because the guy's a 2nd-round pick. He was not a 1st-round pick. And if I'm Geno Smith, I drop the pompous attitude. Okay? Take advice where I need it. Okay? I like his talent. I like how he moves. But he's kind of got to drop the pompous attitude act. Okay? Play football. Geno Smith got a humbling yesterday. Okay? He got a humbling. A huge humbling. Okay? I mean, I'm so disappointed and disgusted with this team because, the plethora of mistakes, it's just ridiculous. Now, I know expectations are low, but it's a week in and week out basis. And yesterday was a disgrace. A big disgrace. 38-13. I mean, Tennessee might have been favored because it was a home game, but it looked like Tennessee just got the Jets outright, took advantage of a quarterback's mistakes, took advantage of stupid penalties, and did everything right. And even with their quarterback hurt. Okay? And this is how and one last thing that doomed the Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick, who we all know from facing, his Buffalo Bills years. I mean, he throws up a big pass to Nate Washington where the stupid referee is in the way. Him and Cromartie sort of bump into each other. Cromartie gets beaten on the play. Touchdown. 77-yard touchdown play. But that was icing on the cake anyway. It's like, okay. So, for what it's worth, we got our butt kicked. It was abuse yesterday. It was abuse. I mean, the whole team failed. They did, with the exception of the defensive line. Like I said, Wilkerson, Copels, and those guys, they did a good job yesterday. It's just when the rest of this team, from the offense to the secondary, don't show up to play, obviously at full 60 minutes, your likely chances are not going to be good. So it looks like we didn't get our revenge from last year that knocked us out of the playoffs. We didn't. And we took a humbling. Our biggest humbling of the year. Okay? They happen. Sure. They happen. But when you're the Jets, we have high expectations for this team. And it's just absurd. It's absurd. What more can you say? It was a disgrace to watch. 3.5 hours out the window watching that disgrace. But it's the Jets. Should we expect any less? Should we? And I'm almost done 15 minutes here. I'm going to shut up for now. Okay? This is your Island Blader speaking. Peace out. Atlanta next week. Anyway, deuces.